Doug O'Neill, welcome to Talking Horses. We're here with a great trainer, but one of this year's premier trainers because of the talent that he's brought to the stage in 2021 with Hot Rod Charlie. I've asked him, and he's agreed to give me a little bit of his take on what's going to happen at the Travers Stakes, which it's easier to talk about a race that you're not in because now you don't have to worry about, the competition. But thank you for coming and welcome.
Doctor, thanks for having me. It's a real honor and great seeing you and speaking with you.
I did a pre-interview with Gary Contessa, a well-known New York trainer, and I went through some of the statistics about the Travers in general. It's one of the premier races, been around forever. It's usually such a race that all the best horses in the country for that year want to be in, especially 3-year-olds. Let me just get your opinion. We've got 7 horses in the race, and we've got several that are really good that you've already raced again, and we've got a few others that are newcomers. And an unknown horse can always jump up, but let's just jump right into it. This Essential Quality, according to the stats, the odds, and some people's consideration, may be the best horse in the country. How do you size him up? You came second in the Belmont Stakes, but how do you size this horse up? Is it his turn to do well? You came I think he came 4th in the Derby, and you came 3rd. So where do you sit with, when I say you, Hot Rod Charlie, where do you sit with that horse, and what do you think about him?
Doc, it's hard to deny Essential Quality's brilliance, and even his one race where he didn't win, like you said in the Derby, he got banged up at the start, and he still ran a dynamite 4th place finish. So he's definitely sitting on Horse of the Year kind of honors, and definitely 3-year-old of the Year kind of honors. And he's a prohibitive favorite tomorrow or whenever, Saturday when its race goes there at Saratoga. And, he's a horse that I think Hot Rod Charlie he's right there with, but we need a few little jumps forward to beat him. And we're hoping somewhere down the road we can get that done.
Yeah, I'm hoping for your behalf. You're a favorite trainer, and he's a favorite horse of mine. So I will admit that prejudice, but you've worked hard to get to the point you're at, and I think you deserve as much as a chance as Brad Cox does. But as you know, the horses are the real, they're the performers in this game, not us. We just do our job. The second favorite is Midnight Bourbon. What do you think about Midnight Bourbon and his trainer, Steve Asmussen? I mean, he's a super trainer. He's, I think, trained the most winners at least in this country. And, I had an interesting experience in 2016. I was at Belmont. I was at Saratoga for the Travers when Bob Baffert won with Arrogate. And I was also at Belmont earlier that year when Steve Asmussen stepped up to the plate for the Belmont with one of the long shots, Creator, and he won. And any horse in his hands is dangerous, especially a good one. So what do you think about a number 2 choice, Midnight Bourbon?
He's a phenomenally gifted colt. Obviously, the race in the Haskell was very unfortunate, and thank God horse and rider came out in good order. And like you say, anything coming out of the Asmussen barn is you got to take notice because they all look lights out. They're also well cared for. He's very conscientious of where he places his horses, and he trains as good as any trainer in the world. So, I think if you can put a line through his last race, the race he ran in the Preakness, puts him right up in there. And Essential Quality still kind of towers on everybody numbers-wise, but these horses aren't machines, right? So, and we know Saratoga is notorious for having some funky results from time to time, but if Essential Quality were to get defeated in this year's Travers, I would say Midnight Bourbon would be the logical horse to do it.
Asmussen, not for any other reason than the fact that he comes to every race. When he puts a horse in, even if it's a long shot or long odds, that he's got a shot. And that reminds me of the old days of Alan Jerkins, who I did a little work for and knew personally. And he didn't enter a race unless he thought he had a shot, at least coming in the top 3. And hopefully on a good day, he could win. We had a little technical difficulty. We're back on now, but I asked you a question about the race with Hot Rod Charlie the Haskell and the interference. And I know you were terribly disappointed. I was terribly disappointed. Everyone was. But it's very difficult, that kind of speed with things going on, no rear view mirrors. Maybe you make one quick comment about what you think happened, and or is this rule a little too extreme with no crops? Because these 1,200-pound animals coming down the pike, I had a very in-depth conversation with Cordero. He said he thinks crazy because how do you steer these guys? That's how you steer them. And I don't want the public to think we're out to hurt the horses. So those that are abusing, I think we're all in favor of that's enough. But when you got a horse that's veering out of your lane, what do you do?
I agree, Doc. No, it's one of those where this is it shouldn't be that complicated, but kind of what I admire and I'm so grateful for what you do here is all just educating fans of the sport. And I think the riding crop now has evolved into such a it's just really a kind reminder. It's they're basically Nerf poppers, that you can barely feel, but you can hear. And these horses are amazing, and they're by nature kind of pack animals. And so for a man or woman who's working alongside a horse to help train them to separate themselves a little bit, they need some encouragement. And I think the riding craft is something that is very necessary and not harmful. And in that particular race, the Haskell, I just got to go on what Flavien Prat, who's a world-class jockey, and we're blessed to have him be Charlie's partner. And Flavien was pretty adamant that if he would have been able to have a riding crop, it would have helped straighten him up, turn him for home. And we train these horses, we break these horses pretty much always to go down to the rail when speed starts going. And, so it's not that unusual for a horse to be coming along on the outside when they turn for home to want to go down to the rail, because that's the way they're trained. So that's where the riding crop is very beneficial. So, yeah, that was very unfortunate. But again, our main focus was, thank God, no one got hurt, horse or human. And hopefully the New Jersey Racing Commission will see this as an opportunity to rethink their stance and hopefully just have an ability to let the riders use the riding crop, maybe to educate people on how the riding crop is not any means of hurt or harm. It's just mainly it's part of the rider's equipment. And so hopefully something good will come from this. But yeah, that was a scary incident for sure.
All right. Well, thank God no one involved in any of this, including Paco Lopez, got hurt. I mean, badly, luckily. And so moving on, you've got, I would say, two other contenders coming up in this race that aren't touted to win necessarily. No one knows what's going to happen, but they're considered to be a step away from it. And that's Keep Me in Mind, trainer Robertino Diodoro, and then Todd Pletcher with Dynamic One. You have a couple words about each of these two horses?
Yeah, with Keep Me in Mind, I think it's so awesome, the fact that when you look back at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and you got Essential Quality, Hot Rod Charlie, and Keep Me in Mind ran 1, 2, 3 there, and all three of them are continuing to campaign and seem to be getting better with each start. So I give a lot of my hats off to Robertino and his connections and the way they've managed him. And I think he's a sleeper in there. He definitely has a big chance. And and Todd Pletcher, what can you say? I think him and Steve Asmussen, like we had talked earlier with the Asmussen barn, anything coming out of the Pletcher barn, you've got to take notice. He's a world-class trainer. They got world-class staff, and he's not running in there for his health. He's definitely ended up in the Travers thinking he's got a chance to get it done. So, short field, like we talked earlier, but Essential Quality, if they all run their best race, Essential Quality probably is the definitive winner. But I think you got a really a blanket of a lot of horses right behind him.
I couldn't have you in an interview without at least throwing this at you. Right now, you're heading for the Pennsylvania Derby, which I believe not as a trainer, but it's a smart move. It's a mile and an eighth, and it gives you a little bit more time to prepare. And your horse has been fighting hard for several races. Are you ducking it all in some people's mind, or you think this is where you belong as a trainer, picking the best race for your horse for this set of circumstances?
Yeah, it's one of those where we're just picking the best race and the best timing, and credit to Greg Helm and Bill Strauss and my nephew Patrick. Those are the guys who own Hot Rod Charlie. And, we really, after the Haskell, we were thinking about the Pacific Classic. It's in our own backyard here at Del Mar. He's training over the track. And the owners kind of led this campaign of let's just regroup in a week or 10 days. And when we did, we thought Charlie still needed a little bit more time before even breezing him. So we knocked that out. And then, the Travers just came up a little bit too quick too. We'd have to travel back east. So yeah, the Pennsylvania Derby timing is perfect, like you said. Keeps us against 3-year-olds another time. It's a mile and an eighth. If we get lucky and run well there and come out of there in good shape, we love the spacing to the Breeders' Cup Classic as well. So, we're optimistic that the Pennsylvania Derby will be the best move for Charlie at this point.
Yeah, that race still, there's no definitives in it. You're a probable, but a possible is Medina Spirit, which Bob Baffert trains. Bob got into a little trouble, to keep it mild, in the Derby where he got disqualified for some infractions. What do you think about him holding his horse for the Penn Derby? What do you think about meeting up with that horse in that race? And of course, there's always some fresh horses coming into it that maybe hadn't fired earlier in the year. You got a couple words about that?
Yeah, well, he's scheduled as we speak, doing this interview, to run this Saturday at Del Mar in the Shared Belief. And Bob's been quoted as saying if he runs well there and comes out of it good, he would use the Shared Belief as a prep for the Pennsylvania Derby. So, anytime you got a Baffert 3-year-old, he's obviously, whatever the heck happened in the Derby, he's a dynamite trainer. He asks his horses a lot on a daily basis, so his horses are fit and ready to run when they're called upon. So Medina Spirit, you can never rule him out after what he did in the Kentucky Derby. There's no reason he couldn't do that again. But we're very biased, of course, but we think Hot Rod Charlie is rounding into being one of the better, if not the best, 3 and up male mile and a quarter dirt horses in the country, and we're looking forward to keeping him injury free and seeing where we stack up against the best come Breeders' Cup time.
Well, the good news out of all this interview is the 3 horses that you're thinking about being competitors are all being trained by Hall of Fame trainers. So that's speaking pretty strong words there. And I'm glad you're in that company, and I think you got a good shot. I think you have one of the top 5 horses in the country, and hopefully that keeps moving up. But we won't know till the races occur. And time flies in these quick interviews, but you've helped a lot of people understand the game a little bit better. And I know that they all enjoyed listening to your interview. So I want to thank you for the interview. And as I always do, wishing everyone in this upcoming Travers a safe trip, and may the best horse and best trainer win.
I love it, Doc. Thanks for having me, and thanks for what you do. And it's so key, to get the word out there about all the men and women that have chosen to work alongside horses for a living, and how much passion there is, and how great the sport and how great the horses are. So thanks for keeping that alive and educating people on that. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you. Hang in there.
You too, brother. Take care.
All right.
Bye, Doc.